Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, ahead of this weekend's ANC Policy Conference, the governing party held a dialogue on peace, stability and social transformation. During the briefing, Home Affairs Minister Dr. Motsoaledi discussed zooming in on policy framework to steer migration in South Africa. He says a new migration policy will be presented at this weekend's meeting. For more, let's go to reporter Lindo Kulu, who joins us now in studio. He was at that briefing. Now, Lindo, the ANC has shared what it intends to propose at their policy conference on the weekend, especially on migration or immigration. Take us through the recommendations.
Well, for the first time since, the policy conferences of the ANC, the party will in fact be speaking about issues of policies around immigration in the country. And what they've basically been doing is proposing some or giving us a sense of some of the recommendations that are going to happen there. And that is through the Home Affairs Minister, Dr. Motsoaledi, who's basically said that what they are proposing is an actual overhaul in terms of the legislation around some of these policies that we have in the country. In fact, one of the things he focused on was the fact that we have so many legislations guiding us, including international ones coming from the United Nations, when it comes to issues of how to deal with some of the immigration, how to deal with immigration in our country. But what he essentially says is that the ANC is looking to propose to the delegates to say that there needs to be an overhaul. I mean, he speaks about the fact that when they go to court, when they take those who are coming to our country illegally or otherwise to courts, there are so many different things that are happening. You look at the immigration policies in our country, they have issues with that because while they are trying to take people to task with those, there's also another legislation to be considered. It's saying that the United Nations would be saying something else when it comes to certain issues. So he says that this particular contradiction that is then created by all of these legislations needs to be overhauled in a sense that there needs to be an overarching structure that will then be able to have finality in terms of some of the matters and actually close the loopholes that we see when it comes to so many issues around immigration. So there's a lot that they are proposing, including issues of saying that there needs to be specialized courts that will be dealing particularly with issues of migration, saying that like the story we've seen in Cape Town where there were those that were from the DRC Congo that were living at a church that it took them for about 10 years to actually be deported to their country because of the slow system of the judiciary having to appear every now and then. And he says that what needs to happen is for specialized immigration courts to be actually at the forefront in terms of dealing with immigration issues. So those are some of the recommendations that they are in fact proposing, but it's a wide range of things, including a mammoth task, I should say, in terms of pulling out or signing out of that legislation from the United Nations, because he says that many countries have been able to in fact have reservations when it comes to issues of the United Nations. For example, the policies and the legislations that they have, countries would then have reservations in terms of saying that this is not what would be suitable for specific countries. But because as South Africa we do not have any reservations when it comes to some of those issues that create loopholes, it says that what needs to happen is that we need to pull out then of the United Nations only to sign back, but this time around we need to sign back with reservations in terms of what are some of the things that work for our country specifically and what don't work for our country. So many issues, including of course our domestic issues when it comes to seeing so many civil organizations starting to take the fight and the plight against illegal immigrants in our country in their hands. And what he says essentially at this stage, he says that there needs to be an establishment as well of an immigration board that will then be dealing with issues and trying to improve upon how we deal with immigration issues. Now he says that this before was a work of the Home Affairs Department, but he says that because of the nature of in which immigration affects many sectors, including policing, including higher tertiary education and all sorts of departments such as labor. He says that there needs to be then a board that consists of all of these departments that will be able to come back and say that these are some of the things that need to be fixed in the country. And he says that in terms of civil society, they need to also be involved in this particular process so that they do not only have the option of taking to the streets and taking the law into their own hands, but they are able then to be part of the legislation leading to ensure that immigrations and all of the things that they are not happy with are dealt with. So those are some of the recommendations. It's a wide range list. It's about 8 recommendations that will be put put into the table as the ANC tries to sit for the weekend at their policy conference, and they're hoping that this will then provide that sort of overhaul to try and close the gaps and loopholes within some of these structures. But let's take a listen to Dr. Motsoaledi, the Home Affairs Minister, just giving us some of the things that they'll be trying to do, particularly focusing on how civil society should also be part of these processes together with departments that are affected by immigration.
We believe in South Africa there must be a huge immigration board that represents the Department of Industry, Trade and Competition, the Department of Labor and Employment, the Department of Health, the Department of Small Business, Department of Tourism, South African Police Services, South African Revenue Services, Basic Education, Higher Education, as well as International Relations and Cooperation. This will be government departments. But in addition, we believe that board must also comprise civil society representatives. We don't want civil society anymore to deal with issues of migration, the manner in which they are being dealt with, by people running to the streets, chasing each other, running after each other, sometimes even attacking each other because they've got no recourse. We want civil society to come and sit in the immigration board and help to take decisions on behalf of the country.
Well, that's going to be quite an interesting debate, especially looking at how, issues around foreign nationals in our country has boiled over. We had the Patriotic Alliance taking the law into their own hands. At some point, the EFF was walking into restaurants, asking restaurant owners how many South Africans they hire compared to foreign nationals, and of course, Operation Tutula. So we'll find out, because that also affects the Labour Department. So we'll find out over the weekend how that debate is going and if anyone in the ANC agrees with organizations such as Operation Tutula.